If your church wants to reach and impact more families, it is vital that parents feel that they're dropping their kids off in safe environments. Otherwise, they won't listen to anything the preacher says or anything that happens in the service. And so today on Practical Church Planting, we're going to give you 6 ways to make parents feel safer dropping off their kids.
Well, welcome back to Practical Church Planting, where in 15 minutes or less, we'll give you practical tips, advice, and encouragement to help you plant and grow healthy churches. My name is Brian Adrosian. Joining me is Dylan Dodson. And today we're talking about 6 ways to make parents feel more safe.
Yeah, specifically in the area of dropping kids off for their kids' ministry.
Yeah,
Brian, by the way,
general.
I missed you last episode, so good to be back with you.
It's painful to not be here.
But yeah, so we're just going to give you some practical tips of things to consider to make parents feel more comfortable, because we know if you're not a parent, you can probably guess, but if you are a parent, you know this. If you drop your kids off somewhere and you're concerned about their safety or about what's going on, you're not going to be focused at all about what's going on, and you're certainly not going to come back.
Yeah, definitely.
And so here are 6 things to consider. Here's number 1, to have a safety serve team position or have a safety volunteer. Now, again, you might not have enough people in every position, and so we get that, to do everything that you want to do. But I think it makes parents, especially in a smaller church environment where they may not think that you're going to have it, to have someone whose primary job is to serve on safety. Even if they're not highly trained, like just having a badge that says safety on there. And I would just say this too, like if you have a safety person, don't just give them a regular badge. Like there needs to be some sort of identifier. Maybe they have shirts or maybe whatever that says that we're on safety. And I think when parents see that, they're automatically thinking and assuming, oh, they actually care about this and have thought through this.
Yeah, I think not having it may be something that's easy to overlook if you're in a small church or a capacity where you think nothing's going to happen, it's not important. I think not having this, not just as a hindrance in that parents might worry, but I feel like, especially if someone's grown up in church, it might actually look like you actively don't care. Like I feel like it's an easy thing to fill. And so if someone who's been to church, and especially a larger church that has a team of them, to see that you don't even have one person may come across as like, wow, you don't even really care that they're safe.
Right. Again, they might not be like a police officer that do anything.
No, of course not.
But just having someone that's like, hey, I'm being intentional about making sure kids are safe, especially if you're a new person who's never been to church in your life, and this idea of dropping your kids off with a bunch of strangers. Yeah. If you're a church person, you don't think twice about it. But if you're not, you're like, I don't know about it. But seeing someone that's actually safety, because the thing about it this way, like a lot of preschools and stuff don't even have someone that's a designated safety person. So again, it shows that you really care and really thought about what you're doing.
Yep.
Number 1, having a safety person volunteer makes a big deal, but make sure there's a way to identify that they're actually safety, not just another volunteer.
Right.
Number 2, restrict access. What this means is that only people with kids can go, or people who serve can go into the kids area. Not anybody who wants to know. And ideally, and again, space could be a problem to make this possible or not, that you have it in its own part of the building where not everybody's walking around. And we'll talk about more about that in a second. But basically just saying, hey, only people with kids can come back here.
Yeah. And I think this is one that's not really, I mean, I guess you could say it, but it's not really possible to do without, number 1, without someone serving on safety. Because you can have a sign, but in reality, no one's going to stop and read a sign. And so to have someone standing there that honestly has kind of the guts to say, no, you can't come back here in a loving way. Right. I think shows parents that you actually are paying attention.
And that's a good point too. So here at New City, most churches we recommend having a sign and a person. If you don't have a sign, then it can be really awkward for the person. If you just have a sign, nobody's going to listen. But that way a person can enforce it to make sure that only people are going back there. Now, here's the thing with this, that everybody has to follow that rule. Staff and everybody. So for us, my wife and I, we have 2 kids. She's the one that drops them off every Sunday. And we'll talk about, getting tags for it in a second. And so she has the little tag that says, I drop the kids off. I don't have it. So I'm not allowed to go back there unless the safety person is with me. So there's sometimes I need to go back there and get something. And it's so funny. When I first started doing this, the safety person was like, no, it's okay. I'm like, no. You need to come with me. Because nobody gets to go back there. And so restricting access shows people, we take your kids' safety seriously. Not anyone's allowed to come over here.
And this can feel really uncomfortable at first. And it even did for us. I've served on safety here. I'm not a police officer. I've served on safety a handful of times. And it's awkward, especially in the beginning, stopping somebody when you're really small. Because you know that they're not ill-intentioned. Maybe they forgot their tag or one parent dropped them off, like you said. But now that we've grown, there are times where maybe it's a grandparent, but I don't know them. And so stopping them, now that we're in the habit of it, it's much easier to actually say something than to try and implement this a year down the road.
Right. Because again, too, the habits you form now are hard to break later. So you may know everybody that's coming now, but you're not always going to know that. And it's not fair to say, well, I know you and I don't know you, especially if someone else doesn't know the people. It's just have a good rule. You can't come back here if you don't have kids. Number 3, room security. And what we mean by room security is making sure that the room look safe. So, for example, I had a friend tell me one time him and his wife went to a church and they dropped their kids off and the room did not look safe. And so the entire service, all they could think of, especially his wife, was their kids. They couldn't focus, whatever. And they said what happened was there was a door on the back end of the kids' room that was wide open that went into like the back of the parking lot. It was just wide open. So they dropped their kids off and they see this door is wide open.
Yeah.
And it's not to a fenced-in area. And so, of course, they're going to be thinking, what's going on? So you need to be thinking about security. Say, like, how easy is it for a kid to leave the room? Mm-hmm. Like, is there baby gates if they're small kids? Windows, if you have a lot of windows, you need to cover them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids. The cleanliness of the room itself and the organization of the room itself. If it looks disorganized, if things are thrown all over the place. Now, obviously, when kids are in there, it's going to get dirty.
Right.
But there's a difference between the kid dirtied it and they just don't even take care of it.
Yeah.
And so the room security and safety and appearance goes a long way in showing parents that this is actually a safe place for their kids.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago going to a conference and hearing a pastor talk about their kids ministry, and he said that what they do is they're outside, their hallways, their kind of check-in area looks super fun, super inviting, super vibrant. We said their rooms, they look clean. They have toys in them so the kids will have fun. But their biggest issue is that they're clean and they don't have any safety concerns.
Yep.
Except the parent wants to see that the outside, that there's things going on, but when they're going in, they're not looking to see if they have this toy or this toy. They're looking to see is he going to get hurt, or if they care that he's safe.
Yep.
And so having things like outlets covered and just little things like that, I think we might think, and maybe if you're a parent, you don't think this, but if you're not a parent, you might think, or you may even overlook it.
Right.
But new parent, their eyes are going to those things.
Yeah, especially if they're a new parent. They are looking at those things. And so the safety of the room is a big deal. Number 4, and this is a pretty easy one that anyone can really implement, is having an evacuation plan. In other words, having next to all the rooms or to the room or where everybody can see, hey, if there's an emergency, here's where the kids are going to go. Here's where the leaders are going to go to take your kids. And basically all that looks like for us is a floor plan of the space.
Right.
And if maybe you're meeting in a school, whatever, ask them for the floor plan, or maybe just, I wouldn't say draw one up that looks ugly, but you can kind of estimate what things will look like.
Yeah.
With just print it with arrows saying, here's where we're going. Again, it shows people, a lot of people don't even expect to see it. And if you don't have it, they probably won't think twice.
Yeah.
But if you do have it and they'll see it, they'll be thinking, oh, like they've really thought through what they're going to do in case of an emergency. I can probably trust them with my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And you might think, especially if you're in your own space, which is small, kind of like we are, that this isn't necessary. For example, one of our rooms, the evacuation is go out, turn left, and you're outside almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to obviously see, but a parent coming in, it's good to actually show that, hey, we've thought about this, and we're not just, if something happens, going to everyone run out a door. We actually have a plan of what's going to happen.
Because if there is an emergency, they know their kids are taken care of, and they also know where their kids are going to be, so it allows them to also be safe and to not to be running all over the place, because that's not good for anybody.
Yep.
And so letting everyone knowing that there's a plan in place, again, helps people, parents, feel more safe.
Relax.
Number 5, we mentioned this before, but having tags for kids for pickup and drop off. And so we use a Dymo printer. I don't know.
Yep.
Dymo, you can Google it.
Yep.
And we use Planning Center, but whatever it is for you, having a system of checking in the kids, putting a tag on the kids and the parent so that you know who is who. And here's the thing. Maybe you're small, budget's limited, and you can't afford the printers that you need and the tablets or the computers, whatever. You can do a manual system. Like you can buy blank name tags, write the kid's name and age or whatever, put on the kid, write the same, write like a 4 or 5 digit code on the kid, write the same information, give it to the parent, so that when they come to pick up the kid, the information will match.
Yep. And I think one thing that goes along with this is good training to make sure your people are checking them.
Yes.
Because like I said, if you're small and you know people well, it's easy to, obviously I know that this is your kid, go ahead. But then you get in the habit of, and especially if a new parent's there, if they say they have a tag and the person in front of them didn't need a tag to get them, then they're thinking, that, is this even important or is this just kind of a formality?
Right.
But actually, and we do it now, we have parents that have been coming here essentially since launch that still know every time they're not getting their kid without handing me a tag.
Right. And it's important too. This is not just for, none of these are just for the appearance.
Yeah.
But this is for churches so crucial because how many kids with either parents that are divorced or have lost custody will know their kid's going to be at the church, assume there's not much safety. The kid's going to go to their parent or their friend or their uncle or their aunt, whatever, because they know them.
Yeah.
But saying, no, if you don't have the right in our case, these tags to show that this kid's coming to you, they're not going to go to you because there's nothing worse than having a kid kidnapped from your church because you didn't do something as simple as this, and that happens a lot.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we feel like we know our people well, but everyone has things that you don't know about.
Yep.
And so no matter how well you know somebody, they may have a relative that they just started having issues with that they haven't disclosed to anybody.
Yep.
That shows up, and maybe you've even met them before and you think everything's fine, but something happened and it's not fine. Yep. So just to always be going with, this is our policy.
And we know it's a lot of time that, let's say there's a marriage that's really bad. A lot of times people just say everything is fine until there's a divorce. So you do not know that maybe that week a restraining order was filed on the husband or the wife, and they're no longer to have access, but they could last week. And so you're just in the habit of, you can take the kid. That's not good.
Yep.
So the person who drops the kid off has to have the tag, and not just a tag to get in there, but they actually has to match the kid's tag.
Yeah.
Having tags for kids pickup. I mean, that screams that we're taking your safety seriously.
Exactly.
And then number 6, lastly, shirts/badges, however you want to do it, for those that are actually serving. So here at New City, and again, if you're a new church, you probably can't afford to buy shirts. I mean, maybe you could have your people that are served pay for them themselves, but that's kind of like not fair. Like, you have to serve back here and you have to buy a shirt to do it. But we have New City shirts. Ideally, they're little city shirts, which are kind of like a bright orange. So if you're serving, we ask, not everyone does it every week, but typically speaking, if you're serving, wear your little city shirt so that people know, you're supposed to be back here. Or at least having a lanyard or a badge that says I'm in kids. And I think it's not just, just having a general, like, let's say everyone that serves gets a badge, but I think having a kid like, people know that this is different. Like, I'm back here for a reason. And so, having a shirt or a badge that says, hey, I'm serving in kids helps people know, like, who's supposed to be there and who's not. Yeah,
it's tough if you're a brand new person. You walk up and someone's standing at the door of your kid's classroom saying, I'll take your kid, and they're in regular street clothes, nothing identifying them as someone serving. I guess you can assume they're serving because they're there, but you really have no idea. If you look into the room and there's maybe 3 people in there, you don't know if 2 of them are workers, one of them is a parent, or if they let people just walk in and out. So being able to identify who's working and who's not, I think just adds an extra layer of comfort.
Yeah, so again, shirts, badges for those who are serving. And so those are 6 things you can do to make parents feel more safe. A couple of side notes, those are kind of more external for people to see, but kind of some internal things that you probably want to implement. One, you need to have background checks on everyone who serves.
Totally.
Even though it's can cost money as a new church, you cannot afford to not have done that and that come out and there be an issue.
Yeah,
so everyone who goes back there, even if it's a safety person, anyone who serves back there has access to where the kids are. Make sure that they're background checked.
Yep.
Number 2, when it comes to changing diapers. So for us, a lot of churches, only women are allowed to change diapers. When it comes to taking kids to the bathroom, only women are allowed to take kids to the bathroom.
Yep.
There always has to be at least 2 parents in the room at all times, even if you're small, even if there's only 1 kid there.
Right.
Stuff like that helps people. It helps cover you in case of an issue.
Yeah.
One other thing that we would say as well is, if to the best of your ability, I forgot to say this with the restrict access part, but having their kids area separate to the best of your ability. If you can have a completely different entrance, like we are able to do here, like we have a little city entrance that has a door, and you only are going in there if you have kids. But if not, maybe you're in a school, whatever, just having an area that's kind of restricted. We're filming this right now. This used to be one of our kids' rooms, and this room, I mean, you don't know from the video, or if you're listening to this, is right next to our lobby. And so a lot of the parents felt uncomfortable because although people weren't allowed in this room, people were looking in there. I mean, we were smaller then, so everybody knew all the kids, and it was just like, parents didn't like that everybody could see their kids and have access to them. And so having it up in a different area of the building that you're in, or maybe you just have just a big lobby and everything's open. Getting some what's that?
Like room dividers.
Room dividers, or what's the, not rope, but like in movie theaters. The little things.
Like the rope.
Whatever.
What they're called.
You know what I'm saying? So just like signify like this is a different area that not everyone is allowed to. You want to make sure that it's differentiated so that everyone can have access to the rooms.
Yeah, totally.
And so again, those are 6 things you can do to make parents feel more safe. Have a safety served position, restrict access to who can go there, have room security and safety, an evacuation plan, tags for pickup and drop off, and shirts and badges for those who are serving. So thanks for being with us today. As always, practicalplanning.com. You can get the show notes on all these episodes.
Sure can.
And you can also go to practicalplanning.com/questions if you want us to talk about something in a future episode.
Yeah.
And thanks for being with us. We'll be with you next time on Practical Church Planting. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Practical Church Planting. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Practical Planting, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you like or subscribe or do whatever it's telling you to do or should do on that platform.
And hey, if you are so tired of looking at our ugly faces, but you're not tired of listening to our beautiful voices, then you can find our podcast. If you just search Practical Church Planning on iTunes or Google Play, make sure not to just find it, not just to listen, but to subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Brian, tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.